Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township, December 18, 2018. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Logan, at this time, could you open us up in prayer?
Good evening, welcome. Merry Christmas, everyone. Best time of the year. Before I pray, I want to just say why Christmas is Christmas. It's not because of some holiday we made up, it's because of Christ coming to earth so that you and I might have salvation through him. He came as a servant. He came to serve, not to be served. And the people here today are representatives of that, because when you serve, you represent Christ. So I'm going to pray for them tonight, and as well as pray for you. And I'm hoping that Christmas takes on a different meaning when we see the young men and women that come up here and wish to serve our community. And I'm thankful that we have men and women like that in our midst. So let's pray. Father, I thank you for Christmas, Lord. It reminds us that you care about us. It reminds us that you are a God who serves us, that you came to serve and not be served, that you came for the simple purpose of taking upon yourself the sins of the world, that he who believes in you might become the righteousness of God in Christ. I pray that this Christmas season means something different to us. It's not just about giving presents and just singing songs, but it's about remembering who you are and why you came, and that you're still here today in the presence of your Holy Spirit. And Father, I just pray for each one here today. I pray your protection around these men and women who come, Lord, to desire to serve this community. I pray you protect them. I pray you bless them, Lord. I pray you guide them by your Holy Spirit. I pray you touch us tonight, Lord. Reveal yourself to us like you've never done before. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, at this time, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Okay, motion is supported. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Steiner is absent. Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Item 3, the consent agenda. A, the approve and place on file the minutes of the December 4, 2018 meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, accept and place on file the general savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer. C, approve and place on file the revenue expense reports and balance sheets for the period ending November 30th, 2018. D, reappointment of Matthew Angerer to the Planning Commission for a second term ending 12/31/21. E, reappointment of Kathy Comstock to the Housing Commission for a second term ending 12/31/23. F, reappointment of Erin Round to the Board of Review for a first term ending 12/31/20. G, reappointment of John Satkowski to the Compensation Commission for a second term ending 12/31/23.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support. Motion is supported. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Item 4 is presentations. A, swearing-in ceremony for the Bedford Township firefighters.
Good evening. Tonight we've got 4 firefighters that we're bringing forward to swear in. They've completed their first year with the department and are coming off probation tonight. So I'd ask that firefighter Lindsay Olette come forward. Lindsay's from Station 2. She's also one of the 4 firefighters that were recently hired under the SAFER grant. Firefighter Will Drake. Will's assigned to Station 1 up in Temperance. Firefighter Cody Billings, who's also assigned to Station 2. And firefighter Tim Hoberg, who's assigned to Station 3.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the state of Michigan, and Bedford Township? Do you affirm you will follow the rules and regulations of the Bedford Fire Department and obey the commands of the officer in charge of emergency calls and drills? that you will honestly and impartially perform the duties of the firefighter and respect and protect the honor and the dignities of the Bedford Township Fire Department to the best of your ability, so help you God. Congratulations.
So Lindsay's husband, Brandon, will be presenting her badge tonight. Brandon, if you come up. Will's father, George. Cody's grandfather, Bud. And Tim's wife, Tricia. All right, congratulations, everyone.
You guys want to do a quick photo, or you want to? Come on in here, Miss Nancy. Here, guys, scooch back here a little bit, and we'll try to. You're going to have to get close to Paul for this, Nancy.
We used to get real close, too.
No, they're the important ones. You don't need to see us.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
could I just say something? While family and friends are all here, I hope I can say it without crying. It's just, I'm excited to see Bud and Sherry in the front row, people that I've known from the fire department many, many years ago. Excellent, excellent. And to see his grandson carry down the tradition, it's just very touching to me. But besides that, I wanted to say on Friday, my husband had a very serious incident that we needed 911. And the men that showed up were overwhelmingly professional. The bedside manner beat all of the bedside manner at the Toledo Hospital emergency room. I was just so thankful when Mike said, do you want us to transport or do you want us to call the ambulance? I have waited so long to hear that. I've wanted our paramedic team, our trained men and women to be able to do their own transporting and not have to call in people who my friends have told me, these people show up and they don't know us, we don't know them, they're very cold and distant. And it was a very scary and serious time for us, but my husband and I both want to thank the fire department, the full-time people, the entire department for your excellent, excellent training and service to this community. It just goes beyond more than we can even speak in words, so thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, number 5 is public comment. Comments limited to 2 minutes for board agenda items only. Seeing no comments, moving on to staff reports. 6A, request for approval of a resolution amending the 2018-2019 general fund budget. Mr. Manning, come on up.
Good evening. I'm sorry about some of the typos I had in my report. The general fund, we have a few adjustments. We're going to have to increase the fund budget appropriation $73,000 to offset some expenses that have changed. The big items are supervisor, $3,000 for the unemployment benefit. The township is self-funded. Other increases be ordinance, assessing, building and grounds. Building and grounds, the increase was approved by the board for the efficient lighting. TAMP grant, that was approved by the board, $120,000. The big change is with the library, with the millage passed, we will not have to fully fund the library, only for half a year or so. Those are the major changes.
Any questions for Mr. Manning? Ms. Tinneberry?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Manning. I don't believe this is his area, but I have a question for the supervisor. The assessing department says software expense will require an additional $5,000.
Correct.
What, okay, well, if you want to answer, you go ahead. But why wasn't that in the budget? See, I didn't think that was your question. It's,
Well, if the plan is passed that we've been bringing to the board, it would then increase the budget, the one that we brought last time. That's correct, Mr. Matlow, right? All the new software that we're talking about?
oh, I can't, I said,
Remember the last couple of meetings, we brought
Yes,
forth
yeah.
all the plan to update the assessing department?
yes.
So if that was passed, then that would be in the addition.
Okay, well, now I'm proud of you for putting it in the budget adjustment before you spend it.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's not, that's, hasn't been historical, but, not just you, but, okay, thank you, that's good.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any more questions? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept and approve the resolution to amend the 2018-2019 general fund budget as presented.
Support.
Motion is supported, discussion. Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Clement?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Item 6B, request for approval of a resolution amending the 2018-19 special funds budget. Mr. Manning?
Some of the big changes here is in the fire district, $266,000 federal grants for full-time firefighters, an additional $144,000 reimbursement for firefighters at various disasters, and the sale of a fire truck. That's in revenue expenses. $267,000 for the full-time firefighters, salary, taxes, and fringe benefits. We'll add $192,000. General maintenance, we've got to increase that by $2,000. Uniforms, need to increase that by $10,000. And with the purchase of fire equipment, the increase is $60,000. Also, we added a new fund, fire fund. This fund will be used to capture the millage revenue from the, that was passed for new equipment. Estimated revenue and expenses are $546,000. The library, we changed that budget to what they had originally submitted when the budgets were being developed. some of the SADs, the road construction was not budgeted at the time the budget was put together. So those are the major items in the other funds.
Questions for Mr. Manning? Ms. Tinevery?
Mr. Manning, you said you amended it to reflect the original budget that was submitted. Does this reflect all of the money generated in the millage?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's not just what they asked for, it's everything that will be coming in for the millage? Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then I have just one more thing, and you can say no to me if you like, but just for clarification in my mind, I was thinking that the fire fund might be called the fire equipment fund so that novices like myself can easily distinguish between the fire district fund and the fire equipment fund.
Well, we were using the standard chart of accounts from the state of Michigan, and that's what they
We have to-
suggest in that.
Oh, but do you have to do that?
You have to use the number, you don't have to use the title.
Yeah, true.
We can-
Would you like that changed, ma'am?
I would, it would help me to
Okay.
distinguish between the two.
What would you like it changed to? I'm sorry.
Fire equipment fund?
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and adopt the resolution to amend the 2018-2019 Special Revenue Funds budget amendments as presented.
Support. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Clemens. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Clement?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Tinevery?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you
Merry
all.
Christmas.
You too, Dave. Yeah. Item 6C, presentation and request for approval of the township's financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2018. Come on up. Anybody that wants to leave, you guys don't have to wait. You can leave, so feel free to go. You don't have to go.
Unless you want to
Let's
watch
just
this all
take a
night,
minute.
now would be the time. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
I had a feeling nobody was going to do that. Thank you.
Well, that was Trudy's. I mean,
Well, he said-
I passed
Us
it down to her.
auditors
Oh,
know
did
how
you?
to clear a room.
I just thought they wanted that.
Yeah, no, they're-
Should I gavel him?
go ahead, let's see how that works.
We have-
Okay.
Okay, good evening.
Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me. My name's Chris Ringo, and I am the owner of the audit firm Ringo and Associates. We're presenting here today the financial statements of the township that have been issued for the year ended June 30th, 2018, and they are accompanied by our auditor's report. And our audit report is on page 3 and 4, and it contains an unmodified opinion, which is the clean opinion, the one you want, our industry used to call that an unqualified opinion, but now we call it unmodified. And it indicates that the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects, which is what we want. It just means that there are no modifications that would cause it to be considered not fairly stated. And I just want to point out some of the highlights today pertaining to the general and park government. I think you could see this on page 11 and page 13 of the financial statements. There was might want to point out that the state shared revenues, which is otherwise like the township share of sales taxes, increased for this period $82,937. It was $2,593,000 in the prior year, and so it's increased to $2,676,174. Other increases in revenue were property taxes, approximately $45,000, franchise fees, about $11,600, and then miscellaneous in revenue, $63,000. You can see that once again on page 11 and I'm going to page 13 now of the financial statements. We also have a graph here, and I'll point out a few things there as well. On page 2 of your graph package, if you want to turn to that, and also page 13 at the same time of the general government. So the general government and park revenues increased $247,585. This was primarily due to the increase in the state grants and charges for services. General government and park expenditures decreased. So those are all good things, you want that, over the prior year by about 1%, from what it was, $4,764,000 in the prior year to $4,709,000. You can go to page 2 of the graph. You can see those numbers for 2018, 2017, and back to, I think, 2014 we were showing here. And also, if you want to flip to page 13, of the financial statements, those numbers are there. The sum of this is a net increase in net position. And net position is what we used to call net assets. Now it's called net position for government. It's also very similar to like equity and for-profits, so it's hard to, like, we have all these different terms for the different types of entities, but net position is what you're used to looking at. Well, for the general government, for the year, it added like $288,000 to the previous year fund balance. So for the general government, which is now $2,067,803. Now the general fund, which is on page 13, it has a balance of $3,256,000 as of June 30th. And page 13, which is also on page 5 of your graph package, and I'll give you a second to turn to there. So that was also an increase. And I have to say that I did take quite a bit of time, as I do, looking at other townships. All that information's available online, doing kind of a comparative of Bedford to those other townships, those that are of the same size, same demographics, and doing very well and very comparable to what's going on, you know, in the rest of the state. We'll talk a little bit about, Mr. Manning did already talk a little bit about the library, which is on page 42. Now that experienced, as you, I think, expected, a $10,000 deficit during the year. And while, and I think this has been discussed in the past, it would customarily have been folded into the general fund, it's remained separate this year due to the passage of the library millage, so that's good. And so it can remain separate. The building fund, which is on page 8 and 9 of your graphs, and good news here as well, has added to the general fund's net position an increase in revenue over expenditures of about $81,000, which is what you want for the building fund. So that adds to the previous surplus that the building fund had that has to be set aside. So that previous surplus was about $150,000, so now it's $231,000, and that's sort of set aside as a committed resource, you know, earmarked as is required. And the fire fund results, we had an excess of expenditures over revenue of about $75,000. When we're looking at that, we have to kind of keep in consideration that there's debt service and there's capital outlay, and so that's okay. With the law enforcement, there was a very small amount of expenditures that were greater than revenue, maybe $2,000 $2,000, which is fine too. The township sewer fund had a little decrease in its operating revenues of $21,000 compared to the prior year. You can see on page 6 of the graphs where that's set out. And also we have that on page 15 of the financial statements. So compared to the prior year, there was a decrease in expenditures of $1,032,039 compared to the prior year. And this is primarily due to, there was a $1 million decrease in the contracted operations and maintenance for the year. So this resulted in contributing to the net increase in net position of the sewer fund by $1,150,000 for that year. And you can see that also on page 15 of the financial statements. Now, you know there's two sets of financial statements, the fund and then the government. And the government is more kind of what a for-profit would look at. We have more full accruals on there, including the long-term debt and the capital assets. So those are put in there. And also new last year, 2017, early implemented, was the Retiree Healthcare Trust. So that's kind of a big number there. And so it makes those statements kind of similar to a for-profit entity, somewhat. And items to highlight in those statements, there was approximately a $441,617 general long-term debt that was retired during the year. You can see that on page 32 of the notes. There was $350,000 of the sewer debt retired, paid off during the year. You can also see that on the graph, page 7, which talks about debt. New debt this year was $241,000 for the purchase of an ambulance. And then the other change was the retiree healthcare trust liability was reduced during the year by $26,000, and that's good. And that's the amount that's paid over the actuary's adjustment. And I need to point out that the special assessment districts there's certain ones that we're aware of that have deficits: Chapel Creek, Wild Haven Park, Indian Acres, Sandwell, and Giant Oaks. So I believe Mr. Manning will file a required deficit elimination plan on those. The township appears to be monitoring its budgets very well, and that's compared to others I've seen. We didn't have any real big problems, everything appears to be very good during this period. Like I said, we compared it to other townships with similar demographics, and the results were either comparable to or better. If there's any questions that anyone has?
Anybody have any questions? Ms. Tinneberry?
Could you remind me or point out where the current fund balance or the fund balance at the end of
Sure.
this budget year?
So the fund balance at the end of the year, if you go to page 12,
Okay.
then you can see it's broken down by general and fire and water, and then the non-governmental funds, and then the total. So the total is $7 million.
I'm just talking about the unassigned that we can use.
Okay, so the unassigned is
Yeah.
the $2,878,000 in the general, that first column.
Right, but you've subtracted the 559 from the
So
non-major
then
government funds.
it's
so-
$2,318,000 like it's set out there.
But
in
what
the
are
last
those
column.
what's 559, 282?
What is the 559,282? That's the amounts that are on the non-governmental funds, and that's in a schedule in the back. It's a combination of things. So if you go to, let's see, if we go to page 43, 42, you can see all of those items there,
Okay,
and that's where they all are. They're kind of all broken out there.
okay. Thank you.
Any more questions, Ms. Tinnever?
No, not at this time.
Comments or concerns?
Not about the actual audit, no. But I do have, when we're done talking about the audit.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I have some,
Ms. Tinnever?
yeah, the audit seems very much like it's been every year and very well explained. But a concern that I have is a letter that was received or sent to the supervisor, clerk, treasurer, finance director, and not the trustees. And in the letter, it says, the purpose of this letter is to communicate to you a few items pertaining to the audit. Our standards require that we identify those individuals with the government that we consider charged with governance and management to whom we communicate items pertaining to the audit. I believe that the trustees are charged with governance, and I'm questioning if someone on this board let the auditor know that the trustees were not charged with governance, or how this happened for a company that we hired with the understanding that they were knowledgeable and had previous experience with township governments, and trustees are by law and by state statute charged with the fiscal health and well-being of the township. So anything that would go to the supervisor, I understand that there are many people that believe that the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer run the township. But unlike, or stated in state law, that is not accurate. I'm not saying you say that. I'm not saying you believe that. But there is that fallacy out there. And for some reason, this public accountant firm got that idea because an employee of the township, the finance director, was given information that the trustees were not included in. So I guess I'm asking, do you have an answer?
Me? No. I don't know who told you to, you want to come on up? Come on up.
We, as a industry, and I explained this to you yesterday when you called me, have a requirement to identify certain parties, perhaps a subgroup. Sometimes that's an audit committee, which you don't have, as those charged with governance. Now, the letter that we send out is public. It's provided to everyone. You have a copy right here today. However, what we have to avoid, because I was receiving calls from you
One call.
two calls. One
Well,
yesterday
the
and then
second
one,
call was
and one the time before, 3 calls total. And so what I was trying to avoid is communicating audit findings premature to, to certain trustees, or like if the public would call. So we can't do that. So we have to identify a group. So the letter that went out, it's for you to tell me who that group is. So,
But you have included.
and they
you
might
have
very well
included an
say it's
employee.
you and everyone, and that's perfectly fine.
You have included an employee that you should know is not in charge of governance of the township, which your letter states governance.
It was also, I also included him, which we normally do. So we can, now you can change who that group of people are, and then you communicate that to us.
So it can't be the group of 7 is what you're saying?
What it can be whoever you want, but what we can't have is people calling us in the middle of the audit and asking us to give them alone the results of the audit when the audit's not even done. We have to communicate it as a whole. So
Okay.
you indicate who those people are. You say it's the board and all the trustees and
just
not the
going
finance
forward, it's
manager.
the
That's
board.
fine. Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah.
And like this letter is public, so it's all part of the audit. but
I
it's
get
a
it. But
public file.
just going forward, any information you
That
send
sounds
us, send to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, I did not call asking, I had this in my possession, so I did not call asking for any information about the audit over the phone, so please.
Okay. All right. Item 6D, Ordinance Department Update. Oh, we have to approve this, okay, okay. I look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board accepts and approves of the audit as presented for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2018.
Thank you all for coming, we appreciate it. Okay, motion supportive of Mr. Clemens, discussion?
The only, so is this, where is this, like, digitally? This is online somewhere, right? Because this is for public.
After we approve it, then
Then it's-
send it to me and I put it online.
It'll be on the township website?
Website, mhm.
Because that's what the purpose of this is, more for general, like, general population to be able to review, correct?
It's for
Or no?
us, but it's public knowledge.
Okay.
This is for, I'm sorry, may I
Oh,
speak?
go ahead.
This is for us, Craig, for the Township Board to be assured that all of the operations that go on with regard to the finances, revenue, and this is beyond the budget. The budget is putting things in a certain compartment, and this is to determine that that's all been done. But we have to have an outside firm auditing this information so that we're assured, because we're not involved in the day-to-day operations. So, I mean, it shows that we have to applaud the supervisor, or not supervisor, but the clerk and the treasurer and their departments for doing an excellent job of managing the budget and bringing forth things so that, but it's for our purpose first and foremost, and then certainly we handle public funds, so everything is public.
But what you're asking is that will be on the website for public
Like
review.
after approval.
Right, after we approve it, they send it to me digitally, and then I stick it on the website under financials.
Mr. Francis?
It's also on the state's website. All of the townships in the state are required to have that in by the end of December.
Okay.
So, and you can look on that and see.
Your
any-
microphone's not on. You gotta start all over now.
The audit report, after it's approved by this board, hopefully that'll be tonight, is transmitted to the state also, and it's on their website, along with every other township and city and municipality, whatever it is, they're required to file with the state. So if anybody wants to look at all, they can look at every single one.
Okay.
School districts are the same thing.
Okay. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Ms. Tinnevery?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Item 6D, Ordinance Department Update. Supervisor Damon Cecil, come on up. Bring that mic way up there.
Yeah, it's got to come up here. I promised I wouldn't hold you past 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight.
That's good.
Actually, I wanted to echo the sentiments of the fire department. I think we have one of the best fire departments in the entire county, okay? And having worked in the sheriff's department, I've seen just about all of them. So I'm very pleased and very proud of our fire department as well. Also, working in the capacity as the ordinance supervisor in the ordinance department, it has been a pleasure to work with the chief there and also Doug Steinman to accomplish some things that we've been working on as far as illegal burns and changing some things. So just to touch on that, and here's the update for you. My goal was to educate the community on what the ordinance department does. When I came here and started working with the public, I realized that a lot of people in the community didn't know exactly what our ordinance department did. So we started working on that this year. And just to give you a recap, we created the ordinance guidebook. We were at the trade fair. We passed those out to several citizens in the community, which allowed us to pretty much tell the people, you know, what your ordinance department does, what we're here for, what our day-to-day operations are. So that was one way we reached out to the community. The next thing, we did some community speaking. Myself and Officer Redmond, we've been to some of the homeowners association meetings within the community, meeting with the people there, talking to them about their concerns within the community and what the ordinance department can do for them. So that's been a good thing, because being able to reach out to the HOAs, letting those people know in these subdivisions and stuff what can and can't be done has helped us immensely. Another thing that we've done is I personally went with Supervisor Peroni this year. We went over to Moongate and we did a presentation to the seniors over there on senior safety and scams and things of that nature. Another thing that we've done is, obviously, last year I started a program called the Snowbird House Checks. This has been a great success. We have a lot of repeat people coming back this year. The ordinance department goes out, obviously, we check on these homes of these senior citizens that are gone out of the community for the past 6 months or longer. We've had a lot of positive response from that. I started a new program this year and been working on it. It made the press, was Support Our Seniors. And that program is designed to assist the senior citizens. A lot of times when we get complaints in the ordinance department about blight, coming up this winter, it'll be on snow removal of sidewalks. We have a lot of seniors in the community that, for whatever debilitating reason, they can't take care of those things. We have met and got a group of people, some of the church organizations here, some other members in the community have come forth and showed an interest and wanted to be on our list of people that we could call. So now, instead of just sending them a letter and having them face maybe fines and costs because they can't accomplish the task that we're asking them by ordinance to do, we now can look at it on a case-by-case basis with them and go out and meet with them. And if they don't have the ability to take care of that property or to do whatever, we can contact our group of individuals that have volunteered their time to go out and take care of these things for us. And that not only does it save them money, but it saves us money too, because we don't have to go to court on it. So that's one of the other programs that we've done. We did a combined spring cleanup this year with Monroe County. I met with Dan Rock, myself and the supervisor, sat down. We brought tire service. Me and Al Pryor about broke our backs, but we had a lot of people take advantage of that in the community to get rid of tires and stuff that would have turned into blight situations. So that was a nice thing that we worked together on. We had another program, Officer Pitson handled that. It was called Dog Days of Summer. It was the first time that we implemented that this year, and it was we were able to bring some veterinarians working with animal control and stuff to Indian Creek Park to get some low-cost vaccinations, and they could also register their animals. We had some displays and stuff and put on by Glass City Canine, and there was a lot of vaccinations. That was a nice positive thing. The rain kind of cut the program a little short that day, but a lot of people showed interest, and we hope to be able to do that in the coming year ahead. Just to give you an idea of what we're doing, we're part-time. We're the only part-time department in the building here. This year, so far, we've handled, and these are cases that we've handled, not complaints that we've had, because we don't have a dispatch system, so I can't track those. But we've had 600 confirmed violations that we've worked on, the three of us this year part-time. And out of those, we've had 120 of them were grass complaints, where we had, through the grass season this year, we had over 200 calls regarding grass complaints, but 120 of them were sustained. We also responded to 125 illegal burns. This is an increase because now that we have the manpower and the ability, we're getting out there and shutting these down. We've had, out of all those cases, we've got 4 of those that are currently pending that we're seeking prosecution on to take to court to get some court-ordered cleanups within the community. Getting to that is the last phase. These are, to me, only having 4 is a great thing. It means that most of the people in the community, when we send them a notice or whatever, they're willing to work with us and get this accomplished. So that is where we stand there. Another thing we worked on, myself and Officer Steinman and the chief, we changed the burn permits. We had couple different burn permit papers and stuff when I started here. We now created one burn permit. We now exchange information with the fire department. We're all on the same page. Officer Dale from the fire department, when the fire department gets sent out on calls for illegal burns now, they are emailing the ordinance department, and we're getting copies of those reports. So now we're capturing that type of thing as well. One of the things that we did do, and I wasn't here, was we have downtime, obviously, in the ordinance department on times and dates that we can't during the burn season, and sometimes, like right now, during the month of December, when we have vacant hours, which are normally picked up by the fire department. The fire department, now that they have went full-time with their rescue and doing the things that they do, this is taxing sometimes onto them to have to send somebody out for an illegal burn. So Mr. Peroni had brought on a seasonal employee that was filling in about 10 to 15 hours a week. This was nice just to pick up that, and it also freed up the fire department. I would like to see that continue in the spring. The only difference is that my goal for that would be, and I've spoken with the fire chief about this, would be to possibly offer those additional hours to maybe one of the firefighters that are in the district. They're familiar with the community. They know how to use the radio, and they're familiar with the rules. So that would be something down the road that I would ask the board to consider, if we could get somebody like that, or somebody on a professional level within our community. So any other questions or anything that you would have of me, I'd answer.
I thought the program was Save Our Seniors.
Support our seniors.
Did you change that?
No.
Save Our Seniors.
Just a spelling change.
Spelling check. Anybody have any questions? No?
All right.
Thanks for
I
being here. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have no old business, so item 8, new business. A, request for approval of vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $61,012.65. Fire District, $25,142.34. Police Fund, $1,777.70. Park Fund, $1,100.09. Library Fund, $4,827.39. Mildred Drive SAD, $1,419.90. Lewiston Estate SAD, $3,732.63. Downtown Development Authority, $187.50. Sewer O&M Fund, $5,332.34. Trust and Agency Fund, $619 for a grand total of $105,151.54.
Support. Okay, motion is supported. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Tinnevery?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Item 8B, request for approval of the Voss Lighting contract to furnish and install lighting at the Bedford Township Library. Ms. Jody Russ, if you'd like to come on up. I didn't even see you here with that big crowd here until you left.
Somebody tall had the microphone. First, I want to give a shout out to my robotics team. That's why I'm wearing this shirt tonight. Bedford Robotics had another strong showing this past weekend.
Good job.
4 of our 5 middle school aged teams made it to the state competition, and my all-girls team was one of them. And while we didn't do very well at state competition, I was really proud that we got there. So just thought I'd wear the shirt tonight just because I knew I'd be here. So the Voss lighting thing that is in front of you for approval is for our pendant lighting, which is the lighting that goes down the center, the big round ones on the curved ceiling. This is an upgrade that I mistakenly thought was done prior to the rest of the job, the LED conversion that we did at the library. And that's only because, and this has been several years now, so I don't even remember all the facts accurately. some of the lights had gone out, and when I called in our prior electrical company to take a look at those, they had told me that those ballasts were out of date and that they couldn't replace them. And their recommendation at the time was that we convert them to LED as a money-saving expense. And I thought that had happened, but apparently that hadn't. And I didn't look up that's just my fault. I just didn't look up that information prior to approving having you guys do the whole rest of the building to the LED conversion. So now we're at the point where 3 of those big pendant lights are out again, and that's actually our emergency security lighting. So that's what illuminates the building should the power go out. So we definitely need it taken care of at this point. And Voss gave us this estimate of $800 to do the project, and that's installation and everything. That's actually prior to some potential rebates from Consumers Energy, which we don't know the exact amount of what those could be yet, but once the project's finished, they'll be able to get some money back potentially from consumers. So won't cost any more than the $800 and could get money back from that amount. The other pricing that I got was $900 per fixture, and there are 9 fixtures. So this is $800 total for all 9. So.
At least we know we've saved money with them being out.
Yeah, and honestly, the report that I got that will show we're saving money that way. The report that I got shows that just converting those fixtures to LED should save us an additional $2.23 per day per fixture, which means this is going to pay for itself in 15 to 18 months. So
Very cool.
it's pretty good.
Very cool. Any questions for Jody at this time? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
I do. The only thing in the warranty, and I don't know if you would even know this, Jody, or if this is like a question for Voss. In the warranty, like number 2 of the warranty says, the warranty shall not take effect if the defect results from normal operational wear. I don't know what
I think
kind of.
normal operation of the wear is they go out after the hours, because you get so many hours with these bulbs, isn't it? Like,
Well, it says it's good for
100
12 months unless it defects from normal operational wear. Isn't that the sole purpose of a warranty? Or no? Do you see what I'm saying? And I don't know if that's covered by point 4 under the warranty. It says that many of the products are covered with the manufacturer's warranty. Is that what that's why I said I don't know if that's for Jody or for Voss. But it just seemed.
It looks like Voss Lighting warrants the work against defects in workmanship and materials for a period of 12 months, but that the lighting itself is covered by a manufacturer's warranty.
So if it's affected under normal operational wear, then that would be on the manufacturer. That's what I assumed, but it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like a goofy thing.
I don't have an answer to that question either. That seems a little
Maybe we should
misconstrued
have
there.
that clarified. Sorry.
I'll look into it. Any other questions? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
I don't have a motion.
We don't have one? I thought we had a motion to support, okay.
I
look
thought
for a
Craig
motion.
was making the motion since
Oh.
he's the library advisor.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the Voss Lighting contract to furnish and install lighting at the Bedford Library with the bid of $800 for installation and all the bulbs.
Good job. I support that. Is that your first motion?
This is the first one.
That's
Motion and supported.
growing up right in front of your eyes.
Okay, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Rushberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much
Thank
for
you,
being here. Okay, item 8C, request for approval of the 2019 Poverty Guidelines Resolution for Bedford Township. Mr. Matlow, come on up. So everybody knows, somebody had called in question number 6, have assets totaling no more than $75,000, not including the primary residence. So Mr. Matlow, if you want to kind of explain that a little bit. Or you can explain it after you talk about what we have here.
Okay.
It's up to you.
The poverty guideline, or poverty, 2019 poverty resolution. We come forward with this to the board every year. On the back side of page 2 are the federal poverty income guidelines. These are the minimals that we can go to. We can't go lower than these set standards. The first column is the number of people residing in the home, and the total amount of, or maximum total income that's allowed by the federal government. The township does have a little slide to this, which is a little bit up and above. That has always been the case for the township. Addressing number 6, the total assets totaling no more than $75,000. Those particular assets tend to roll into, an example would be a motor home or a large boat, or multiple collector's cars that would come into play. Over the years, a number of communities have used this higher number as an asset test to see if an individual would qualify or not. The number that we have here has been used for a substantial time on this particular form for the township. We've done a little more reviewing. We're looking to have that modified by the board to adjust that down to 25,000. It brings it in more line with what's across the county. The individuals that have applied over the years for the poverty exemption, in most cases, come in here and they are in need of assistance. Our boards over the years have been, they do scrutinize, but they look with an open heart, and they've been very good at applying or approving, granting these exemptions.
75,000 is way too high.
Yeah, it is a number that we have had in place, but we want to adjust this down.
So what are you thinking from what you've looked into about 25,000?
25,000. The vast majority of individuals that do come in here don't, if they would have that kind of assets, they're not coming in here. They're not coming in here. The vast majority of people that have come in here over the years don't even really want to be here. Most of them do not. We are kind of a last resort. A number of people over the years have used this. They'll come in 1 year, and you may not see them again for 4 years. We have a community of individuals that tend to be very self-independent. We're very, that's this community.
Okay. Mr. Francis?
Would the effect of that be to decrease the number that are eligible? I would think it would be.
It could. It possibly could. But the board has a little leeway, and that's why over the years we've had these individuals come in and state their cases. The board, if they feel a deviation is required of the standards that are set forward, they have to state the reasoning why they believe that it should be granted up and above the income minimums and maximums. I'm sorry, the maximums for the sliding scale that we have.
Ms. Stenberry?
Well, just to tag on to Paul's comment, it does decrease the number of people who can claim the poverty exemption. And I mean, that's what I think this board is responsible to do. I want to be able to provide this exemption for everyone who is in need. But I know, Alan, and I'm thankful that Bedford Township is not plagued with people that are seeking to, I guess, defraud the system. But I've heard horror stories about ones that do. And once they get the poverty exemption, they do come back nearly every year. And I personally, I would think that the 75,000 in assets should be no more than the poverty exemption. Someone that has a boat and must be able to afford to put that boat in the water with the price of gas and everything, I don't know, if I would think that they should be able to get the poverty exemption on their taxes, or a motorhome. You got a motorhome that costs a lot of money to run a motorhome with fuel and travel, and I mean, to me, I know that there needs to be a set list, but your board of review can adjust that. For instance, one of the stories I heard was a woman, certainly, she met the qualifications, but she had other money in assets, in a second car and some investments. But her bills for her cancer treatment far exceeded it all. And the cancer treatment was supposed to be over in a few months, so to require her to sell her assets to pay her taxes, that Board of Review thought that that was excessive. I would agree. You know, we all reach times in our lives where we have certain instances, situations that are outside the box. But I think 25,000 is too high, just my personal opinion. And I spoke with Alan about this as we were coming up in the elevator, that there is the law requires that the board approve let me see here. The local unit must also have an asset test. The purpose of the asset test is to determine the resources available, cash, fixed assets, other property that would be converted to cash used to pay their taxes. And so at some point, you said you're going to provide that test, the asset test that you use.
That's part of the application. That's all of the application. This
But
is,
the board needs to approve that. So if
that's the whole packet that was presented for the board. We submitted the whole packet on that.
this is all I got. I only got this resolution.
I can answer that. In the past, this is all we've presented is the resolution and the numbers. The application has never been approved by the board, so we went ahead and put in the packet what we normally approve, which has always been the resolution and the standard guideline. We've never done the whole application that those people have to fill out.
Well,
So
and I
that's why
understand
it's
that.
not included now.
I understand that, but with this new AMAR, my understanding is that that will be marked down on the AMAR if they don't show the board meeting where the Township Board approved the asset test. And if the asset test is included in the application, then I guess that would include the application. But this is the bulletin of 2017 regarding the new AMAR requirements. And so we want to pass the AMAR. We don't want to have any markdowns. So I'm just thinking, we don't have to do it tonight. We just have to do it at some point before the next board,
We'll put it on the
board
next
review.
agenda for the application. You do
Yeah,
that.
we can do that. Yeah.
Anyway,
I
so-
wasn't made aware of that, or I would have put the whole application. Like I said, this is always what we've,
Right, and this is all new, this is all new, and like I said, we talked about it in the elevator, but, so I guess I wouldn't want to tempt someone who can afford to pay their taxes and have outside assets, you know, I mean, totaling 75, and I know you said that that was too high, but I would like to.
Those outside assets can or cannot be contributed into the total values that they have.
No, not of their house, it's outside
Their house, but
rev-
these other asset vehicles do not necessarily have to be pulled in as a weighing factor. The biggest key for the whole application is the income that comes in. If they're exceeding these limits here, they don't qualify. That's the big thing. If you have over
I
that
get that.
minimal
Income? Well, this lady
income,
that I was
yeah.
talking about, she's only on Social Security.
a lot of these people are on Social Security.
What's the highest you've ever seen somebody come in?
As far as their assets,
This, yeah, coming close to the 75,000.
the one that comes to mind was,
You don't have to say anything.
no, no, I'm not going to say an individual. I believe there was a case probably back in 2002 or 2003 when I first came into an individual that had a substantial piece of property. And they didn't use that against her for giving the exemption at that time. didn't. There was like, so,
Okay.
that's what you're at.
Okay.
Comment. I did look at other communities, look at the resolutions that they approved for this, and I can say that their assets totaling amount was anywhere between 10 and 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
It just depended on the community and how big it was, how high or low that number was.
That's kind of, I think 25 is a good number. Okay. Any more questions for Alan, or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Mr. Monty?
If you made an amendment to amend that to 25, is that where you can, like, you can make, like, they still have to come through the board and we could approve if they had 35, if they had whatever, you can make it approve, you can
Well,
approve or no?
You
You don't have to come here.
Or whoever, the board of review.
If we saw that there was an issue, we could bring it back to the board for their approval in the future, next year's poverty resolution and application. Primarily, it's the board of review that looks these over. They look at the income that's coming in. They look at the number of individuals in the home that are working and what they contribute. They look at the costs that these people incur to live, heating, electric, natural gas, foods, their clothing, their expenditures for the whole entire year. The asset tests, if they have those items, they put those in as well. Like we said, we ask them to come in and speak to the board, because the board does have questions, and there are situations that individuals go through. We've had people that have had identity theft that takes several years sometimes to clean up. We've had individuals that have held health issues or circumstances that they just cannot control, that take them by surprise.
Okay. Any more questions?
So do we want to make the change to 25?
I'd say make the
And
change
then
tonight
approve
to
it?
25, then approve the application next meeting.
You have to have on there the number that you're going to use. You
Yeah.
can't have 75 on there and then expect it to be 25.
I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Hirschberger?
Make a motion that we approve the 2019 poverty resolution with the following change to assets from 75 to 25,000.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Francis. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Ms. Tinevery?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Item 8D. Thank you, Alan, for being here. Oh, one more thing.
You
Go ahead.
mentioned one more thing. Today, well, we talked to, we've been doing some reviewing of the department.
Well, here, let me update him real quick. We called MTA. MTA does not come out and assessing departments as far as needs, as far as employment. Alan has talked to the state. We haven't found anything where anybody's just gonna come here and tell us what we need or how many employees we need. So that's kind of where he's coming with the email he sent out tonight. We wanna try to educate the board as much as possible.
Did you say agitate?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Agitate or
that's what he
educate?
said.
Educate, educate,
Oh,
educate, it's not agitate.
You said agitate.
We can do that too,
Yeah, I can tell.
and we do.
We don't have to try to do
We don't
that,
have to
so-
try. Like Mr. Peroni said, we have contacted the state. We have also talked to a number of other individuals to look at coming in and reviewing our processes. We haven't found anybody. The thing that we're trying to do is educate the board a little bit more, give you a little feel of what we do. We've talked to a number of individuals that say, we're really not sure what you're doing or how you're doing it. So I sent out an email tonight that you're all invited to come, spend some time in the office and some time out in the field over the next couple of weeks, because we are now into our crunch time of the season of getting our role buttoned up and taken care of. Mr. Montre has offered to be the first individual to step up. He's going to be coming in on Thursday morning, spend a couple hours with us. So the email's out there. You're all invited to come and spend a little time, see what we do. And that's where we're at right there.
Thank you, Al.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 8D, request for approval of the resolution to establish sewer use charges for both the year 2019. Mr. Francis.
I know everybody's waiting with bated breath for this, but we operate a sewer plant. It's about 50 years old. It has to have some major improvements, which you're aware of. We've had 2 or 3 presentations on that. We've applied for loans. The upgrade is about $24 million. It's a lot of money. But that upgrade should last us for 30 years before we have to put any major money in it, which is a good idea. Why I brought that up is that additional loan impacts the rate structure that we set for the users of that sewage system. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. On the cover sheet, excuse me, that everyone has, I did a little explanation of what it is, and in a nutshell, we've done some computations and projections based on the number of users that we have, based on the costs that we have to cover, including the new loan for the improvements. Ran the numbers, had the financial analyst firm from Ann Arbor that did the projections for the main sewer upgrade for $24 million. They reviewed these numbers also, and they've agreed that this is what's required to make that a financially viable entity. So what I'm proposing tonight is that the operation and maintenance portion of the sewer rate, we need to increase it from $5.07 to $5.48 per 1,000 gallons of usage for next year. The depreciation charge, which is built into this, needs to be decreased from $9.38 to $4.67 per residential equivalent. Then the last phase, the charge for service for the sewer plant debt, which is the old loans and the new loan, we need to increase that from $23.02 to $28.91 per residential equivalent per quarter. All of that, in a nutshell, amounts to about a 7% increase. Turn to the next page, and you'll see how that compares to where it has been for 2017, 2018. You'll see how that compares to 2019 on the second page. And it amounts to a 7.03% increase. Last year, it was an 8.11% increase. The year before that, it was 15%. So we just need to make sure that we're financially solvent. And that's what this rate change is supposed to, well, it will make us that way, and for all the contingencies we know of at this point. I'll answer any questions that anyone might have on this, how we came up with it, or whatever you'd like.
Anybody have any questions at this time? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
Well, I'd like to move that we approve and adopt the sewer usage rate for the year 2019 as presented.
Support.
Motion is supported by Mr. Clemens. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Tinnevery?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. Okay, number 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 5 minutes. Come on up.
Notice I don't have any paperwork to bring up here. Logan Tisdale, 13-way Brandywine Street. Last time of the year to make a comment, so I want to just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. again, I'm kind of amazed, and I've worked in a lot of different communities where I've seen volunteer fire departments, and I'm so happy that we have so many wonderful volunteers here in Bedford, and I think we're really blessed by that. I think we ought to remember them on Christmas and New Year's and pray for them and make sure that we remember them. Also, I'm happy we have a good ordinance department. I happen to know two of the gentlemen that work there. They have tremendous experience in the police area, so I know that they're going to do a great job this year and stuff. And so I'm happy we have people that are dedicated to trying to keep Bedford Township in accordance with the ordinance that we pass here. I also hope that we as a community remember those people in our community who have suffered loss this year. One of the greatest gifts you can give somebody is to pray for them. All those other things, they'll eventually be forgotten. But if you pray for somebody, that's something that's going to be eternal. And I hope that we pray for those people in our community who have suffered loss. I've lost a family member this year and 4 of my friends and stuff. So I know that Christmas for those families are going to be not as easy as it might be for some of us who haven't suffered any loss. So I pray that we remember them as a community and individually pray for them and stuff. And I think that that's something that we can all do, and it's a gift that really is really important for them. So I pray that you have a blessed and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you.
Thank you for your comments.
Just really briefly, I wanted to take a moment to kind of echo or expand a little bit on what the ordinance department's report, just to share our appreciation as a fire department with the changes they've made over the last year. To put into perspective, sometimes it's a little bit overlooked, but last fall, we had a weekend where the fire department responded to 19 illegal burns or unauthorized burns on a Saturday, and I think another 11 on a Sunday. And what really, we track our response times closely, and our most important job is to get to emergencies quickly. When we're being taxed like that on a single weekend, it's really challenging to be able to deliver the service that we should be providing to our residents. If you put that in perspective, this year, we have responded to only 27 illegal burns throughout the entire year. Ordinance has changed the way they're doing business, changed their hours, and we appreciate the board's support with the temporary, or the seasonal employee that they brought on. That's even helped more so. So we just appreciate what they're doing, and the fact that we don't want it overlooked that they're making the community safer by taking on some of that responsibility and allowing us to respond to the emergencies a little bit faster. So just wanted to share that with the board and thank the board for the support.
Well, thank you very much. Any more comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. Comments from Township Board members? Ms. Tenneberry? Or do you not want to go first?
Well, you should have asked me sooner, but I just wanted to clarify, I should have done it before everyone left, when I shared my story about the paramedics and our full-time people. My husband is home doing well, so I didn't want anyone to think that anything severe happened. He's home doing well, and we're thankful for that. And he, as well as I, am very thankful for our entire fire department and their professionalism and their response time, and just very blessed, very blessed. I would like to know who is there a new director of the Housing Commission?
Mm-hmm. Yes, who just retired, and
I know. Has everyone else been informed? Was it a meeting I missed?
no, actually, you're,
Oh,
no, I can't remember her name, though. I'm going to get in trouble now. Anybody remember?
really? We have a new director.
There's a new director.
The director's not appointed by the board? I mean, we don't have any,
No, their
Wait.
board did the,
I know they do
Hiring.
the interview. They do the hiring?
I believe so.
We appoint that Housing Commission, but we don't have anything
was
to do
it?
with the,
Is it on a board? I don't believe it was.
They did all the hiring and everything.
interesting. Okay, well, I would like to know the name. Maybe she could come to a meeting and
Mm-hmm.
We
We'll
could-
arrange that.
we could welcome her and, okay, just curious.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I just didn't think about it.
Okay, Oh, okay. I'm glad to help you out. And then the other thing, I just wanted to maybe bang the drum and applaud the fact that we have a very healthy fund balance. We have talked in the past during budget times of doom and gloom and recession and all the bad things that could happen, haven't happened. If you remember the sky is falling kind of comment, sky didn't fall. So I'm thankful that we do have a healthy fund balance. I'm thankful that the public is very aware of our finances and the fact that we have some extra money that we can put towards roads or whatever we decide. It may not be roads, but I don't like to leave the impression that we're in the tank. And then I said this last year, and I made myself a note to carry over in my planner. It's with regard to putting contracts out for bid. And I know that this puts a burden on the clerk's department. I apologize for that. But I waited till after the elections. And I'm not in any big hurry, but I would like to see a list of our contracts and the due dates so that we can discuss as a board, maybe we won't want to, but to discuss as a board our contracts and when they come up for renewal, and even the fact we want to put those contracts up for bid. So I'm not going to press for a date, time limit, but it is something I'd like to see in the first quarter of the year, maybe, as you get time. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Montry?
My only things were just to commend the board, and like I'm on the library board committee now, and just going through looking through those budgets and what those LEDs have saved in energy costs is wild, and I just think it's great. And then same thing of going through all this audit of the boards to be commended of expenses down, the net position up, everything just it's should be commended and praised. That's it. Merry Christmas.
Okay. Mr. Clements?
I just was going to wish you guys Merry Christmas. Wish everybody, all of you, have a safe and Merry Christmas, and that's it.
Okay. Mr. Francis?
Logan touched on what the meaning of Christmas is. I agree with that 100%, and I think most of you on this board also do. It really isn't about giving presents. It really isn't about all the advertising that you see on the TV and hear on the radio and everything. That's all commercial. That starts in July, it seems like. But we really do need to be aware of and thankful for what the real meaning of Christmas is. And I just hope everyone does enjoy Christmas with their family and think about how it affects their life. I guess that's all I have to say.
Ms. Hirschberger?
I have a few things. Just want to let everyone know that the clerk's department went through 2 audits within a 4-day span. The first was our passport audit, and then the second was an election audit where the state chose one of our precincts for the county to audit, and I'm happy to announce that we passed both audits with 100% compliance. The newsletter will go out probably tomorrow. You'll get it in the paper. Remind the residents that the Township Hall will be closed on Monday, December 24th, and Tuesday, December 25th for Christmas, and then Monday, December 31st, and Tuesday, January 1st to observe the New Year's. Also, the board meetings have changed in January, so please note that our first meeting will be January 8th, and our second meeting will be held on the 22nd. So those are both a week later than they normally would be held. I want to wish my grandson Eli a happy 5th birthday. So pretty close to a Christmas baby here. And lastly, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and please have a very healthy and safe New Year. That's it.
Well, Damon, thank you very much for being here. I just want to say that guy right there, he cares about this community. He works his tail off every single day. He's in there to come up with new ideas of how we can make changes. We're constantly meeting on a daily basis, not a weekly basis. We meet daily and talk about how we can improve upon ordinances and different things going on. And I mean, the fire department has been working with you guys and, you know, partnering up to really partner to where it's, you know, you're working together from the radios, you know. I know it's made things a lot easier. I wanted to thank Doug for all your hard work this weekend with scheduling and organizing things with the Blizzard Fest. I know it was a lot of work for you guys, but Santa came on the fire truck and you guys sat there both nights. We actually were able to help 2 people that got cut fingers from ice skates, minor injuries, but we really appreciate it. You guys went above and beyond, and it was definitely noticeable. A lot of people had mentioned that, so. But the Blizzard Fest was very successful. We had a lot of people come out. I want to give a special thanks to Tasha Rapp, Jewel Patton, and Lexi Rapp. These 3 ladies have just worked their tail off, spent their own money, spent time week after week for the last year planning this event for the public with nothing in return. And they're starting in 3 weeks planning it again. It's only going to get bigger and better. The community absolutely loved it, and I want to read a little message that I got sent about from somebody that, hold on, it's 1 second, it's right. A lady had asked a question on the Blizzard Fest page about the carriage rides. When her and her family got there, she has terminal cancer and has been not been able to work for 8 months. She has always wanted to take a carriage ride. She contacted us ahead of time to see how much it would cost. The entire family came, and we told them there's no cost. The entire family came to the festival knowing this would fulfill one of her last wishes. This will be her last Christmas, but this will now be their family's tradition. They honor their mom. So stories like that are pretty cool. There was a big crowd of people crying around the carriage, you know, when they were doing it. So, but I just really want to thank them for all their hard work. I think it's really important that we support them as much as we can through this, and I know this board has, just with little things. So I want to say thanks to the Lake Erie Transit. I know they gave 500 or so rides, you know, with people the buses were packed both days. Quick on the roundabout, Mr. Francis and Al Pryor went to the road commission meeting last night on the roundabout. There was more discussions on the roundabout. So we look for them to come back with some more information about different cost. It's still too high. So they're trying to figure out, really, Paul, I mean, if you were there last night, if you want to kind of expound on it a little better, and I can go, so go ahead, take a minute.
Well,
is your microphone on?
The Road Commission applied for and received a $600,000 grant to be applied to a roundabout that we're studying at the intersection of Jackman and Smith. That's a dangerous corner. It's a ridiculous layout. It's been that way for years, I know. It's difficult to get through that intersection when there's a lot of traffic. And that's usually in the morning when they're going to work and even when they're coming back. A roundabout would alleviate that problem, and make traffic flow better and safer. But it costs a lot of money, obviously. We're trying to talk the Road Commission into putting some funds into that, in addition to us and the grant. But we're working on it. We've got a long way to go. It's a grant that needs to be used in the year 2020. It's a use it or lose it grant. We can't apply that to some other project. It has to go only for that. So we really don't want to throw away $600,000 without at least running the numbers to see where we are and can we afford that. So in effect, that's what we were talking about.
And the construction cost has come in at around $850,000, not including property acquisition and engineering. The road commission feels like that estimate's a little bit high from what they were talking last night, from what I understand. So they're gonna do some more investigation on it. So we'll keep updating on that as we can. I want to encourage people to apply for open board seats. We have a lot of open board seats right now. That's why we didn't fill this agenda with open seats. So if you're interested in serving, please apply. I think we have a number of them. So it's in the newsletter, so look for that. I'd like to congratulate Jack Thayer. He was appointed to the road commission tonight. So, and I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
I got one more thing.
Mr. Francis?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. My aunt, Virginia Whitman, passed away last night. It's a blessing, and yet it's hurtful. She was a big influence on my life, and some others that are probably listening tonight feel that way also. So I just want to make it known that that has happened, and we're planning on, she was 94, we're planning on having, I guess, a celebration of her life sometime in January. I don't know the particulars of it yet, but it'll, so, sorry I forgot that earlier.
Yeah, and one more thing, I'm gonna start encouraging different boards to, let's do quarterly, at least quarterly updates with what's going on with the different boards. I mean, sometimes we get so busy and we forget about what boards are doing. You know, I mean, we have many different boards, especially some of these new ones. We'll try to really encourage these quarterly updates to keep everybody up to date with what's going on. So with no further questions, we stand adjourned.